Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I would like to thank you for coming and joining this workshop today, the seminar. And as you see, the topic is rather mysterious. To be honest, when I was in my teenage years, I was fond of a TV show which was called Mythbusters. This is a documentary in which two Hollywood special effects experts attempted to debunk some myths, mostly about urban legends, by directly testing them. And probably this love of myths inspired me to create this seminar today, which is devoted to debunking academic writing myths, which will be connected with linking devices. So how to really link your ideas. As you probably know, there are plenty of myths, yes, about academic writing, and one of them is connected with linking devices. So in your handout, you should see task 1 at the very top of the file, in which there is a text which asks you to underline everything that makes the text cohesive. So everything all the things that connect ideas in this text. And I should say that the text is very illustrative, as it has a variety of linking devices used in it. So let's now compare what we have underlined. And at the same time, I will remind you of the classification of the ways to connect ideas. One of the ways is using repeated words, or like just to repeat some words. It's absolutely all right to do that. Of course, you shouldn't overuse repeated words, otherwise the text will be repetitive, but this is one of the ways. One more case is using reference words, or as they are also called, grammatical links. You can see in this slide that in green, I have a lot of pronouns. So using pronouns of different types helps to make your text cohesive as well. Another type is transitional signals, or the other way for them is lexical linking words. I think these are the most frequent ones that we use in our texts, and the ones that we learn starting from school or even earlier. So here they are, and they represent the words, lexical items that are used to connect ideas. One more type is using paraphrasing or substitution. This is a method in which we just use other words for expressing same idea, not to repeat the word, to avoid repetition, too frequent repetition in our texts. So here, persuasion is paraphrased as a way of influencing. So here, influencing the audience. This also connects the sentences together. And this is what we've got. This is what I think about the text. Of course, opinions may differ. And this is the text in question that we have just discussed with you. And this is how I have improved it. Of course, there are several ways to improve it. So this is just one of the possible versions. I first of all crossed out some linking devices, because I believe there are too many lexical linking words, lexical linking devices, like moreover, however, the ones that are in red. The text can be connected even without them. For example, here I have the pronoun it, so the grammatical linking device, which already links it to the previous sentence. I probably don't need moreover here. Here, however, may also not be necessary, since it doesn't pretty much present a contrast. Here we have just the continuation of the thought, which just adds to the previous sentence. Here also, we can just use it. In the original text, we had language. We had the repetition language. I have substituted it with, I have substituted language with it, because language is used here. And it's still like clear what I refer to. Moreover, I united some sentences. For example, the last sentence is now a bit longer, but I believe that it's justified, and I used and connected the next thought to the previous one because they are inextricably linked together. So with the main clause here, with the with the main clause, well, even though there is nothing wrong about using some of these linking devices that I have crossed out. Maybe others would cross other linking devices. Still, we don't need so many. And this brings us to one of the myths. So since school, we've been taught to use as many linking devices as possible in our writing. However, this is one of the most common myths about writing in general, and especially about academic writing. Sometimes there are so many linking devices in a text that the idea of the text gets lost behind these linking devices. So we have just debunked one myth with you. Now I suggest moving forward, and here I will need also your eager participation. Here you see a table with the lexical linking words and 2 columns with those that you know and those that you use in your academic texts. Can you please either tick or mark in any other ways those links that you know and those links that you use in your academic texts? Okay, thank you very much for your results. This is what I have consulted, the corpus of American contemporary American English, and this is what I have collected from there. The table demonstrates the frequency of these linking words in academic texts starting from 1990. So I will give you several seconds to have a look at the numbers. So the red ones mean very, very rare use of the linking word. So what conclusion can we draw from this data? Is that first of all, those linking devices that have the digits in red against the red background are very rare in academic texts. However, there are also those that are extremely frequent, like I think while is the most frequent one. We can also see however, although, and therefore, yes, as the leaders as well as though, which means that, so this information leads us to one more myth, is that, again, we very frequently believe that we need to use as many different linking words as possible in our academic texts. For example, we can find lists of them on the internet and just use everything from there, trying to not to repeat one and the same linking device twice or 3 times, which is not the best strategy for your research papers. Therefore, we have just with you debunked one more myth about using all the linking words. Here, what I would advise you is to look at the linking devices used in the papers devoted to your research field. Mathematicians can use some linking devices, sociologists may use other linking words, therefore pay attention to what other people in your research field use. And here now, we're going to work with the Jamboard. This is a Jamboard which you can, I would like you to use in order to distribute the linking devices in the post-it notes, so against the yellow background, according to the 6 functions that they perform. So you can make sure that you have a pointer here, so you can click on it and you can move it to any function that you think it performs. We will work here all together. So we just need all of you to distribute the the linking devices according to their functions. Thank you very much. I can see that all the links have been already. So there are some second thoughts. Okay, very well done. Thank you. I believe that judging from the results, I need to comment on contrast and concession. They may look similar, even though the meanings and the functions are a bit different. So contrast is more about the things that when we compare a similar aspect of two different things, people, or situations. For example, I know this country, this country is big, but another country is small. So we compare the size. So same aspect of two different things. That concession is a bit different. So, and when we use concession, we often contrast two different aspects. So not one aspect, like the size of countries, but two different aspects. For example, despite bad weather, I will go for a walk. So two different aspects: bad weather, but going for a walk. Here I should comment that, as I have already said, contrast and concession are very closely linked together. Therefore, some words from the section contrast, like for example, but, can be used to express concession, but mostly in oral speech or like informal writing. When we write academic texts, we should keep this in mind, that contrast is about one aspect of two different things. Concession is about two different aspects that we contrast. So this is the distribution. I believe now we need to talk about the differences between the linking devices within these functions. And here I would ask you to go back to your handouts and find their task 2. There, you're presented with several sections of sentences, and we will work with them section by section. Therefore, can you please now look at section 1, read there are 5 sentences, and try to figure out the differences between the underlined words, between the linking devices that are underlined. So these sentences are more about concession than contrast, as I explained in the previous slide, more about contrasting two different aspects rather than one aspect of two different things. So they are more about concession, even though but can be possible. Yes, we can transform sentences a bit. But again, for academic writing, it's better to differentiate between contrast with but, however, and concession. Like, although the weather is bad, I will go for a walk. Again, so two different aspects, and I contrast them. Even though is the strongest one, is the most emphatic one. And as a result, we don't use it in academic writing. So in academic writing, we are not very emphatic, we're not very emotional. Therefore, keep even though for your oral informal speech, but not for academic writing. Moreover, everything with though is quite less formal than although. For example, if we look at number 5, such cases are very, very rare in academic writing. Is this when we have an adjective in front of though? I have here the data from corpus again. And you can see that the frequency, the greatest frequency of an adjective plus though is just 13 out of all the texts from 1990. So 13 is the maximum, which means that no, we don't use though in such cases. So I'll again cross out. So not this, better not this. Here though is possible. But again, it's less frequently used than although. So possible, but with don't overuse it. Other three cases are rather informal. We're moving on to section 2 now. There you have 2 more sentences. They are from the field of reason. So 2 minutes for looking at them, and again, trying to figure out the difference. In the first case, it introduces a clause, whereas in the second one, just a noun. So yes, the relationship we have the subject and the predicate, whereas here we have just a noun. It's not a clause. Therefore, we should be careful when using because of, since no verb is possible after that part. The third group, here we deal with concession again. Well, first of all, the difference is very physical here. Both of them are about concession. Both despite and in spite. If you remember the distribution in Jamboard, we had both of them in concession. Concession is pretty much all about surprises. Like, we have some information, but like, surprise, surprise, something else still will happen. We'll do something. They're very, very close, and they're quite frequently used interchangeably. However, again, what I have found, well, first, a very simple and physical difference is the number of words. So we use in spite of consists of 3. We don't use any prepositions after despite. This is a very frequent mistake when people add something here. But in spite of, we do need the preposition. And also the corpus informed us that in spite of is less frequently used. Probably because of the number of words, it's much easier, shorter to write the word despite than just three words. So the data suggests that despite is a more frequently used word. So again, we should stick to it. Now we're approaching a bit larger group. So this time contrast, and in this case, one and the same word is used in 3 sentences. So I will give you some time to look at the sentences and figure out the difference. In the first one, however, is a conjunction. And it means that there is no difference how something is done. Like the study of saliva, like meaning, well, it doesn't matter how important it is to the evolutionary biology, holds great promise for medical science. So it has a different meaning here. So showing us that there is no difference, not much of a contrast. And this, however, in this meaning is used less frequently in academic writing. I have found only very few cases. So again, let's keep it for oral communication or less formal texts. The other 2 are adverbs, and they're used very frequently. And if you remember, however, is one of the most frequently used linking devices in academic texts as well as in other texts. I think it's one of the most frequent adverb used ever. Both are used to show contrast. The only difference between sentence 2 and sentence 3 is the place of however. We can start a sentence with it, make sure that you have a comma after it. Or we can place it somewhere in the middle of the sentence that is contrasted with the previous one. But again, pay attention to the use of commas. We usually put commas around the word however. So 2 and 3 are possible in academic writing, not the first one. Moving forward, then, we have the last section, last group of linking devices. They all come from the function of adding information. And again, 3 minutes here to figure out the difference. I will start then with the first sentence, and here links two sentences into your complex one. What you should notice as this comma. So as soon as one part of a sentence after which we put and finishes, we put a comma after it, and then we use and. The same is true for, do you know, there is one more small linking device which can connect two sentences into one, and which requires a comma in front of it. Another word with the same case is but. Equals means that it also requires a comma in front of it when it links two smaller sentences, two clauses, into one complex sentence. So when not as like I like apples, bananas, and oranges, but when we have a complex sentence consisting of two, so we need a comma in front of and in front of but. The second case. So here, yes, definitely we need some sentence in front of that to link this one too. And here I have a question. Can I move also to the beginning of the sentence? Can I start the sentence with also? Also, in academic writing, is not used at the beginning of a sentence. We don't start with sentences with also. We don't start sentences with and or but. We use them only inside the sentences. So here is a good example of also used inside a sentence. And the last one, in addition, yes, you were right in your comment that it just adds information. It depends on the writer whether the writer thinks it's necessary or not. So just some new information added. And what is also crucial is that we need a comma after it. So some linking devices require a comma. By discussing the different sections of linking devices, we have debunked one more myth with you that consists in the idea that all linking devices that belong to one group, one function, like we did in the Jamboard, they're used in the same way. Unfortunately not. You always need to consult a dictionary or again, look at other articles in order to figure out how they're used. So that was the third myth of our seminar today. And now I believe that we need to put the knowledge that we have refreshed got into practice. And in your handouts, you see task 3. And in task 3, you need to find a mistake in every sentence. There are 5 sentences and correct it. So other researchers should have at least a link to who exactly. I would have here one of the possible ideas. We can, if we want to keep this also, we can just make it a subordinate clause. So it becomes one sentence and we keep all that. We could also use but, like, but other researchers disagree. Sentence 2, how would you correct this one? Definitely we shouldn't start with also at the very beginning of the sentence. So one of the options here is that I've put yes also in exactly the same place as you have. One more, my suggestion is substituting. If you want to start with some linking device, use something different with the same function, but which can be used at the very beginning of a sentence. Or yes, we have already second. So it could be the case when we don't need a linking device. So we shouldn't overuse linking devices. The third, it discusses, chapter 1 discusses and presents, because these are just homogeneous parts, two verbs together. So yeah, discusses and presents. It also presents, also possible. Just we need to keep in mind that we don't start with also, so we just put it in the middle of the sentence. Number 4.
However, at low productivity. Because it's no good idea to start with but.
And I also have this version, you're right, or we can keep but again we just link 2 sentences together into one. And the 5th, the sentence is a bit too long, Yeah, either in spite of, or just we can cross off and keep despite, as it is a more frequent linking device than in spite of in academic texts. So a more challenging thing now. In your handouts, you should see task 4. And in task 4, there are several sentences that I would like you to connect. The idea is that at the end of these two ideas that you have in each line, you have a function in brackets. So you are free to choose any linking device performing this function. Try to use maybe new ones or those ones that you've learned something new about today. And can you please connect these ideas? So you will need to write the sentences. Let's now check. So because of or due to, we need a noun. I have some versions of my own. So if we use because of or like due to, we have to rephrase. So we make a verb into a noun. Or I can keep because and then use the rest of the sentence without any changes. I have also used since and as here. Since, when we use since and as, we we're centering more on the result. So this is what is important to us in this sentence. Whereas when I use because, the focus is more on the reason. So the difference is not only as in the position, but also in the focus. So since as result, because the focus is on the reason. The second sentence, any of these, I have also used and as a linker, and I haven't forgotten about the comma in front of it. Probably we can even get rid of the linking devices and start with students can take part-time English classes and those in other languages. We can even make it one sentence. Yeah, this is how we get rid of any linking device. We just keep the short and, which links not sentences, but homogeneous parts. Again, several options are possible. In sentence 3, so with concession. I have same versions as you do. Yeah, although and though are possible. Just again, please don't forget that after the part with although or though, we use a comma. Yeah, here it ends the part with although and though, and we need a comma to let the reader make a stop at the end of the clause. Yeah, here as well. So I have put a comma. Yeah, usually when we start with a subordinate clause, we put a comma after it. When we start with the main clause and then the subordinate follows, we usually don't put a comma. However, with although and though, I have seen cases in corpus when although and though were here and we still had a comma. This is explained by the fact that the sentence was too long. And like, why do we need commas? We need the reader to make a pause somewhere, like to take a breath if the person is reading out loud, or just to make a pause. Therefore, commas were used here, even though that was not a very typical case. Therefore, here always, here like depends on the length of the sentence. Yeah, we have then 2 more. Okay, I already have the answers. So these are my versions. So I don't have commas here, neither here, because they follow. Well, we need broader context, of course, here to figure out, yes, a longer passage of text. I thought that like there is some absence, some lack of research, but many countries are planning to privatize. So these two ideas are contrasted. Okay. And here, I had to change the noun, because despite and in spite of require a noun after them. And let me check. Yes, the fifth slide works properly. So sentence 5. So I have several versions. One of them with but. Again, don't forget about comma. One has been mentioned already with however starting a sentence, or can use however inside the sentence, but again, I use commas. Like we had an example when we were discussing the differences. Let me just very briefly summarize what I was trying to transmit to you. Is that first of all, a text can be logical without plenty of linking devices. Forget about the necessity to use as many as possible. So text can still be logical if you use few or a few linking devices, or if you use some other ways of connecting your ideas, like pronouns, paraphrasing, and so on and so forth. Then, when choosing a linking device to use, be careful, since not all of them are suitable for academic writing, and you should better consult a dictionary. Some dictionaries have a marker, like academic or formal. But again, it's better to use the corpus. And in your handouts, you have a link to the corpus of contemporary American English, where you can check which linking devices are really used. If you put a tick on academic texts, so it will show you everything referring to academic texts only. Moreover, even though we know huge lists of linking words that belong to, let's say, contrast, not all of them perform the same function in the same way. Therefore, we should better look at the dictionary, how they're used, or again, we can consult the corpus, or if you know some reliable articles from your field written by native speakers, it's better to check how they use linking devices, or anyone else reliable. Of course, you should pay attention to the way linking devices are used in, articles. Moreover, you can ask the proofreaders to check. And of course, proofreaders are always there to help you with linking devices as well, because they definitely know how they should be used. So this is the same list of references that I've used. As you can see, I have not only theoretical literature, but also corpus and dictionaries. So never forget that there are dictionaries available in the corpus. And thank you very much.